Hey folks, it's Ben here. What I want to do is do a series of blog posts and videos looking at the topic of increasing website conversion. I recently spoke at a seminar and this seemed to go down pretty well, and I actually think it's for many people it's the missing link. It's the thing that they fail to do, and it's really easy to do. Now, as I hear myself say the words, we're going to do a couple of blog posts, probably something 3 or 4 of them, and a few videos on this topic. In internet marketing world, that often means that we're leading up to the launch or the sale of something. That's not the case here. There's nothing to sell. If I was really savvy, I'd pick a couple of good copywriting courses and throw affiliate links in for those, but there's none of that. What I will do is at different points in this, I'm going to point to a checklist that you can use, and I'm convinced if you'll download the checklist, and you can have that for free, that you will and you'll ask yourself the questions on that checklist about your websites, you'll see significant improvements in your sales volume. So let's jump into things. In terms of what we're going to cover, essentially we're going to look at a little bit of background on conversion, and for many of you that'll be, I suppose, familiar territory. Then we're going to look at some of the benefits of increased conversion. Now when I go through that, most people would just think that's just increase in sales, but there are a whole range of other benefits that aren't always obvious, and when you become aware of them, you'll be a lot more motivated to get in and increase the conversion rate of your website. We'll take a little bit of time and look at some mechanics, but again, the mechanics are really quite simple, and so we're not going to spend a lot of time there. What we'll then get into is specific techniques that you can use, and this is where it really starts to get interesting. I'll give you a little bit of bad news, which is that not every test that you're going to run to increase your conversion will always be a success, and so I just want to put some balance in there. But the reality is I wouldn't be making this presentation today if we hadn't worked on the conversion rates for the Samurai website. Since its launch, we've seen something in the order of a 200% increase in our sales rate, and without that, we just wouldn't have the business that we do today. And then finally, we'll go through the checklist just so that you can get familiar with each of the questions. And my hope is that you'll not just be interested in the presentation, but that you'll take this and this checklist will become a part of the way that you put websites together. And by doing so, you will see significant increases in your sales. So a little bit of background. In simple terms, what is a conversion rate? Well, it's basically the percentage of people who do the thing that you want them to do. So if it's a sales website, it's the percentage of people who buy. If it's a lead generation site, it's the percentage of people who opt into your lead generation form, or who ring the phone, or who do whatever. You can also look at conversion rates in segments. So it might be, you might have a multi-step marketing process, which is opting into a free report and then requesting a contact or buying something, and you can look at each of those individual steps and look at their conversion rates, and it's essentially expressed as a percentage. So what is split testing? Well, split testing is simply, and again, I know for many of you this is basic territory, it's taking the visitors who come to your website and sending a percentage, or showing a percentage of them one version, or in this case version A of a sales presentation, and showing another group of them version B. Now, typically the good split testing software will actually be smart enough to record which version a person has seen, so if they come back to the website, it gives them the same thing again. But we essentially assess the sales performance of version A versus version B. And the act of thinking about different sales offerings that we can make, and thinking about the way that we present our sales offering, and then testing it, is essentially the crux of increasing the conversion rate of your website. Now, there's a range of techniques we'll get into, but this is essentially what I'm wanting you to do. So where does conversion fit in? And I like to think of it in terms of sort of this holistic approach to internet marketing. And we've got obviously the topic of market research, which is where we spend a lot of our time talking about things, coming from Market Samurai. We've got traffic generation, and again, there's a whole range of traffic generation strategies that we won't go into. There's conversion, there's product, and there's assets. Now, product is what you actually sell, and I also include in that segment working on increasing the the components of your website from a technical perspective and those sorts of things. So it's often the technical work. And assets is over a period of time, you will build up website assets. The more pages you've got, the more affiliates who are marketing your product, the more products you've got to sell, the more areas of market research where you found good opportunities. All of those are assets. But a big part in this that people often skip over is the conversion rates of the various points in their website. In fact, if you're in a marketplace and you have a website that's converting at 5% and all of your competitors are converting at 2% on average, you have a significant advantage, and a high converting web page is very much an asset in your marketing arsenal. And so we're going to spend the next few blog posts looking at this topic of conversion. So the checklist, for some of you, I know that you're saying, look, I just want to have a look at this checklist and I want to jump in. That's fine. Feel free to go and have a look. We're going to look at it in detail and talk through it. But if you're one of those people that just wants to jump in and have a look at it, feel free to get it. It's at noblesamurai.com/checklist. So a little bit about the magic of increased conversion. Firstly, and this sounds obvious, but if you increase the conversion rate of your website, you will increase sales. So let's say that we run a split test and it's on our sales page and we get a 20% increase in the sales rate of our website. That's when we run a split test, I'm disappointed if I'm not getting a 20% increase. That's sort of the mental benchmark that I set for myself. Interestingly, a lot of people think that if they increase their sales by 20%, they'll increase their profits by 20%. And generally speaking, this is not true. Generally speaking, your profits will increase by a significantly larger amount than your sales. And the reason for this in accounting speak is because of fixed overhead costs. When you've got a certain amount of cost that you have to spend no matter what on, it might be your hosting, it might be a range of other costs in your business. When you increase the sales, if you're, imagine a business at break even and it then increases its sales by 20%, and each sale is indeed profitable, but all the earlier sales were covering those fixed overhead costs, all the new sales go straight to the bottom line. So a little increase in conversion can often lead to a much greater increase in the profit margin of your website. I think this is really important, the notion of having more money to go back into the marketplace with. We've certainly seen this as the case where clients that have, and in our own case, it's been the fact that we have worked aggressively on our conversion rates that have given us the money to pour back into our business. And I see a lot of business owners say, I'm not going to put any more money into this business until it starts to pay me, and they've invested a lot of money up front. And you get this stalemate situation where they've invested a lot of money, but they don't want to put any more in until the business starts to make them a return. And often they're talking about product development or other bits and pieces. And in many cases, just a small investment in increasing the conversion rate of your website will yield you the cash flow that you need to fight the other battles in your business. This is really interesting. When you increase the conversion rate of your website, often there are additional paid sources of traffic that become viable. Let me give you an example. You might have tried Facebook advertising and found that it was essentially a break-even or a loss-making exercise in your particular niche market. Now, that might be because you didn't write good ads, or it may be the way that you approached it. But let's say that you did approach it with skill and it was a break-even or a slightly loss-making exercise. If you went and increased the conversion rate of the pages that you're sending that traffic to, and we've seen in our own business a 200% increase in conversion since we started. If we were breaking even with our initial pages and then we sent it to pages that converted it at a 200% higher rate, all of a sudden Facebook for us becomes a viable source of advertising. And often this is the case with offline advertising. You might find that you're sending leads via offline advertising and you're losing money, and you can often blame the offline advertising model, but in many cases it's because the pages you're sending them to don't convert well. Another one here is more opportunity for back-end sales. If you can, the customers that you'll make the most money out of, the most profit from, are the customers that you've sold to in the past. And it's the ability to take a second offering, and it's one of the things that we're really working hard on here in Samurai World, is to bring a second offering to market. And it's just good business sense. People that have bought from you in the past have a high degree of trust, and your sales offerings will be they'll be much more successful. And so if you can go and increase the conversion rate of your front-end products, your back-end will become far more profitable as well. And this is often where the real profit and the real growth in businesses occurs. This is an interesting one: increased affiliate love, or increased acceptance from affiliates. You think about it, if you're a Market Samurai affiliate in the early days, when our website was converting at 1/3 of what it does today, you just wouldn't be as excited about promoting the product, because the reality is all your marketing efforts only would have got you 1/3 of the value that they do today. And so increasing the conversion rate of your website and being able to state that, being able to say what it is a really important step in attracting and retaining and working with affiliates, particularly the high caliber ones who will measure you against your competitors. So I want to finish it off by looking at a story this first post, by looking at a story that happened with us very early on. We just finished our first 30-day challenge. Market Samurai had been promoted through that, and the reality is we could have put up a sales page with nothing but buy Market Samurai here and a PayPal link, and we would have made sales, because the 30-day challenge process had trained people in the use of the software, and they came to us as buyers who were already convinced of the value of the product. But we then went and did a promotion with Mike Filsaime, and Mike's list for the most part didn't know anything about us. And when we did our promotion with Mike, and he was, for what it's worth, just a gentleman to work with, we put up 3 sales pages on a particular promotional site that we built for his promotion. And when the day came to send out the mail for these pages, we were actively running a split test between the 3 of them. And there were 3 of us that actually worked on this project. And I remember, I think it was from memory, Brent and myself, we sort of bet on sales page number 1. We thought it was going to be the winner. Eugene, by comparison, bet on sales page number 2. And sales page number 3 we had in there, but we didn't really think it was going to perform very well. Within the first hour of the mail out, we had enough results to be what's called statistically significant. And I'll look at that a little bit more later. And within an hour of the mail out, we were able to see that the 2 pages that we thought were going to do well performed nowhere near as well as the 3rd page, which outperformed by a factor of 2 to 1. And so we doubled the sales rate by that split test. And I can't see what the future would have held if we hadn't have done that. But the reality was, at the end of that process, Mike had very successfully promoted for us, and we sent him some quite significant payments as an affiliate. But if we hadn't done this split test, it would have only been about half as big. Now, the interesting thing in all of this was, at the end of that process, I remember Eugene and myself, we got on the phone with Mike, firstly just to thank him for, he was a really good affiliate to work with and did his side of the equation really well. But we also said to him, look, we're some young guys starting a software business in the internet marketing space. Is there anyone else you think that might promote for us? And in a very laid-back fashion, he said, oh, sure. And he said, I'll send out a quick email. And he shot out an email to essentially the internet marketing royalty of the time. And we got responses back from some of the best names in the internet marketing industry who went on to promote for us. And I'm pretty confident that if we didn't do the split testing that got Mike the sales rate that he was looking for, that he wouldn't have been as keen to recommend us to the other people in the market. And again, we probably wouldn't be here making the presentation today that we are. So that's how important that I think conversion rate is. So I think what we might do, I think we might wrap up our first post at this point, and we'll come back and look at some of the random magic. And there's quite an exciting story I want to tell you in this when we jump into our second blog post in the next day or 2. Thanks very much, guys. We're gonna get through a whole bunch of specifics and how-to on working on your conversion rate, and I think this is going to make a big difference in your online marketing business. Thanks, guys.